Well, you're most welcome to today's talk, Friday the 21st of October. Now, this gentleman here is Mr. Cristian Terhes. He's an elected member of the European Parliament. And as you'll see, he's holding quite a few blanked out sheets of paper. So when members of the European Parliament asked Pfizer for copies of the contract that apparently Pfizer entered into with the European Parliament, the European Union, this is the level of transparency that they got back. And clearly Mr. Terhes is not impressed with this. So let's look and we'll see if there's any detail on here. Well, no, we can't see too much because it's all blanked out. So what is going on here? What is happening? So if we look here, this is the introduction. 100 blanked out pages apparently were supplied. And this is the contracts for the vaccines, the COVID vaccines. And Mr. Terhes says this is how they were disclosed to us. Remember, elected representatives by the people, for the people, we would certainly hope. Now, there's also an ongoing issue here. This is the European Public Prosecutor's Office. And I've got the evidence for this here. Protecting European taxpayers' money from criminals. And if we log on to their news site here, we log on to this one, we see that the ongoing European Public Prosecutor's Office investigation into the acquisition of COVID-19 vaccines in the European Union. So this is actively being investigated by the Prosecutor's Office. The European Public Prosecutor's Office confirmed that it has an ongoing investigation into the acquisition of COVID-19 vaccines in the European Union. This exceptional confirmation comes after the extremely high public interest. No further details will be made available at present. But we do believe we have something else to add to it at the moment. Now, this is the full hearing of the Pfizer's representative before the European Commission. The full hearing is now there. It extends for well over an hour, but it's all there now and it's completely documented. Now, I had covered this last week, my video based on available content at the time, and that is there. Now, if you watch this video, we noted the quite lamentable performance, really, I thought. Some people might have thought she was excellent, but I thought it was a lamentable performance from the Pfizer's representative there, talking about things like moving at the speed of science, which I didn't really understand. Now, I want to play you a couple of clips now. This is the press conference after the Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla refused to attend in front of the European Parliament. So let's listen to the introduction to this press conference now from Cristian Terhes.
Thank you so much for coming to this press conference, almost 24 hours after the CEO of Pfizer, Mr. Albert Bourla, was supposed to be present in the European Parliament in the special committee to investigate what happened during COVID, and unfortunately he was absent. He sent a representative who was unable, incapable, or unwilling to answer many of the questions asked by my colleagues. So we are here today. It's October the 11th. I'm here with more colleagues from different political groups from different countries who will be addressing some of the issues that were supposed to be discussed yesterday. So I would like to give the floor to my colleague from Italy, Francesca Donato.
Thank you very much, Chris.
So maybe we're getting a sense of a bit of dissatisfaction there from Mr. Terhes, and we'll be hearing more about him in a minute. Now, this press conference is, as we say, it is available. It is available here. It's available at the moment on YouTube. 6 members of the European Parliament held a press conference on the 11th of October, one day after Albert Bourla, President CEO, refused to participate in the COVID committee and answer questions. Now, this is not me. This is a direct quote from Mr. Terhes' site. So it's not what we're saying, it's what he said. I don't know that the CEO refused to participate. We just take Mr. Terhes at his word for that. And that these members of the European Parliament were present at the conference, and we'll be hearing from, we'll maybe hear from one or two of them. We'll see how we go for time. Now, the clip I want to play you now. It lasts. It's Mr. Terhes. It does last for 4.5 minutes, but I think it's well worth listening to. So I'm going to just give the next 4.5 minutes to Mr. Terhes, and then we'll be making some comments and say where we stand on this channel in relation to this material. So over to Mr. Terhes now.
What was Pfizer got to hide? This is a question that we are all asking after we found out that the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, pulled out. The interesting thing is, a few weeks ago, the CEO of Moderna, we were criticizing these pharma companies, for being or for lacking transparency. But at least the CEO of Moderna had the courage, I would say, to come and answer questions. Yeah, he did not answer all the questions that we asked, but at least he was present here and was faced with all these questions that all of my colleagues asked. So obviously, when we found out that the CEO of Pfizer decided not to come and answer questions, this is not an inquiry committee. So he was not bound by law to come, and, he was not on record, he was not facing any criminal punishments in case he's lying in front of this committee. But even in that case, he refused to come and answer some concrete and specific questions. Questions that I think all of us and all of you have. And the first question is, what exactly in these contracts? What are they hiding exactly? I mean, in the previous press conferences, I showed you some of the pages, from these contracts. This is how they were disclosed to us, and to the public, and to the press. Obviously, after some of us and some of the brave journalists asked, what are the contracts signed between the European Commission and these pharmaceutical companies? So this is how they disclose the contracts. Over 100 pages. Every contract with Pfizer, with Moderna, tens of pages of those contracts were blacked out. So yesterday when we asked, I was the one asking, and some of my colleagues asked, when are they going to fully release these contracts? The representative of Pfizer, who was sent to replace the CEO of Pfizer, said that they can't fully disclose these contracts because they have some commercial secrets over there, and they have to protect their interests. Now I'm asking you, what about the interests of our people? What about the interests of the Europeans whose money was spent, or wasted, I would say now, to buy these medical products that are not providing what they were marketed for? Because what we found out yesterday, when one of my colleagues asked if they tested, in this case Pfizer, if Pfizer tested, if their medical product is stopping the spread of the virus, we were shocked to find out yesterday that they haven't tested their vaccine to see if it's stopping the spread of the virus. So we are now more than a year after the green certificate, the digital green certificate was imposed in the European Union, and people were forced to be vaccinated with the medical product in order to exercise their basic fundamental rights, and they were told, and we were told, we were voted against the green certificate, but many of our colleagues voted in favor of it because they believe what these companies have said, that if you get vaccinated, you will not be infected, and you will not spread the virus. They even ran a campaign and said, get vaccinated in order to keep your grandmother and your parents healthy. And we find out now, after more than a year, that when they requested the special marketing authorization, they haven't tested the vaccine to see if it's stopping the spread of the virus. So I'm asking again, and we are asking again, what are they going to hide? What do they hide exactly? Why aren't they transparent with their medical product? We heard yesterday, I was shocked. Because Pfizer used this opportunity just to do a PR campaign and even lecture us. Why are we asking this and not asking that? Who are they to question us? What kind of questions do we ask? We are elected by the people for the people, not they. And they are supposed to answer all these questions, which they have not. There's another. What has...
Okay, I think there's a couple of things we need to clarify there. Now, this is obviously Mr. Terhes's view. I just want to clarify what we're allowed to say on this channel and what we believe on this channel, in fact. COVID-19 medical misinformation policy from YouTube. So I can't put content that promotes methods that contradict local and local health authorities or WHO. So I don't think we're doing that. Now, YouTube fairly comment this, claims that there's a guaranteed prevention method for COVID-19. Let's be quite clear, there is no guaranteed prevention method for COVID-19. The YouTube guidelines are completely correct. And they also say that claims that any medication or vaccine is a guaranteed prevention method for COVID-19, also completely correct. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. It's not a guaranteed prevention. So I don't really see a contradiction there between Mr. Terhes and the YouTube guidelines. But we hold that intention with this. This is also from the YouTube support, Google support. Content selecting that vaccines, so we're not talking about side effects here. Content that claims that vaccines do not reduce transmission or content claiming that vaccines do not reduce transmission or contraction of disease. So we're not saying this. It's a question of degree, the degree to which vaccines will reduce transmission of disease. So hopefully that is fairly consistent with the with this policy here, that we can't make absolute claims. So I think that's probably where we are at with that. Now I'm going to put in one more thing here. This is from the French representative here. Let's just see what she had to say.
To my colleague Virginie Jeron from France.
Merci Christian. Mesdames et messieurs, d'abord, je partage l'analyse de mes collègues. Ils ont parfaitement résumé la journée d'hier, qui était une mascarade. Nous avons perdu 2 heures, puisque aucune des questions que nous avions posées, qui étaient très...
So I'm back on now. That goes on in French. Now, I'm not a great French speaker by any means, but I've got a friend who's bilingual, educated in France. So I went round to him and he's translated this speech from the French representative for me, Virginie Jeron. And this is my friend's sort of bullet points really from what she said. My colleagues have perfectly summarised the masquerade. So the French word there, masquerade, farce, can mean much the same thing, of yesterday's meeting. So what we see is Member of European Parliament, Virginie Jeron, thought the meeting with the Pfizer representative was a farce, masquerade, something pretending. None of the questions were asked which were very clear. Questions about contracts, prices were not asked, and also something I'm not at liberty to discuss there, but it is in the original video if you want to go back and check it for yourself. Pfizer should be required to give evidence under oath, she thinks. This is Virginie Jeron. This is the biggest contract ever awarded by the European Commission, 36 billion euros. Now this is the Europe. I'm not quite sure. We weren't quite sure about the translation here. We've translated this as European Court, but it's some European agency anyway. 35 pages of questions, criticisms, demands, lack of transparency. None were answered. So great deal of dissatisfaction from this member of the European Parliament. Suspicions of passive corruption, and action is going to be taken on that. Now I don't really know what passive corruption is. It's just a direct translation from the French. So hopefully that will become more obvious. She has taken legal advice in France about this. I suspect there's more to come on that. And so to summarise, Virginie Jeron, member of the European Parliament, said they, meaning the Pfizer representatives, they came, they did not answer anything, and they are still selling us their products. So clearly a somewhat confused member of the European Parliament there. So, ongoing issues in Europe. We'll, of course, be monitoring this. There's more to say. I have put the links in. There's much more in the links if you wanted to watch them. But sufficient to raise concerns. Now, this is saying nothing about the vaccines themselves, their efficacy, the side effects. It's not talking about that. This is mostly related to the perceived lack of transparency and issues relating to the original contracts. I'm going to leave it there, but thank you for watching.